I really appreciate that you are from all over the world and all different time zones. So, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Fantastic. Alrighty, so it is now 12:05 UK time, and I'm going to introduce to you Yuri and emotional intelligence. But before I really get into that, just to let you know a bit about who we are. We are called Divergent Thinking, and we're a social enterprise that aims to teach interesting subjects in a way that hasn't been taught in that particular way. Because I don't know about you guys, but I like to think I'm not really that academic, but I'm still incredibly interested in learning new skills all the time. And as someone who does have things like dyslexia, it's very difficult to understand and learn in a conventional way. So we thought, why don't we get some of the brightest minds of our generation and find people who are able to teach and educate in a, maybe a less conventional way. So far, we've done workshops on mobile filmmaking, yoga, public speaking. We've got social action coming up, and this will be a series kind of like ongoing. So do stay in touch, like and subscribe, follow us on the social medias, all that standard stuff. And without further delay, I would like to introduce you to Yuri. So Yuri is the founder of an emotional intelligence company, and he is based in Kenya and is one of the leading experts on EI. I worked with this guy in the US a couple of months back in Colorado, and honestly, he is such a very wise guy, way beyond his years, and I couldn't think of a better person to be able to introduce this really worthwhile subject. So, Yuri, can you take it over?
Yeah, definitely. Hello, everyone. My name is Yuri. I'm Nat's friend, but he's from Colorado. Thank you so much for that warm introduction. I'm very happy today to be able to take you through a whole masterclass on emotional intelligence. This is my first biggest audience. I've been dealing with an audience of 10, 15, 5, 1 person. And today I feel that this is one of the biggest things that has happened to me, this year. It's a great achievement. And I'm so happy that you guys are able to create time within all your busy schedules, just to be here with us today. I really appreciate that. So is it possible if I can start sharing the screen now?
Yep, go for it, mate.
Thank you so much.
Okay, it's okay.
Cool. And just to let you all know real quickly, we're going to turn you all on mute just to make this a little easier. But if you have a question, just put it in the description and I'll be more than happy to answer at the end.
Okay. Can you see it? Okay, good.
Yes.
So,
all good.
So hello everyone, my name is Yuri Coret. I'm someone who's very passionate about the subject of emotional intelligence. It has done remarkable things for me in my life. And even before I got to know what it is, I've gone through all ups and downs in my life. I believe everyone has gone through that. And emotional intelligence has really helped me to find the answers to all these things. So I have started a startup company called the Kaizen International Network that is currently focusing on training people to become more emotionally intelligent. I believe that today, by the end of today, we'll be able to build a community of people who would be, much more proactive towards, building their emotional intelligence. So a little background about where I come from. I come from a very beautiful country called Kenya. I'm Kenyan. And it's an amazing place. It's an amazing place that anyone would want to visit, full of diversity, rich in culture, all the beautiful animals and the beautiful sceneries that, you'd always want to visit. It's a place that I call home, and I'm very happy to be Kenyan. But currently I'm looking towards becoming a global citizen with what I'm offering in terms of emotional intelligence training. I want to build a global community, and I'm extremely grateful that you guys are able to be here today. So this masterclass has, three specific objectives. The three specific objectives. One is by the end of this masterclass, you will be able to understand what emotional intelligence is, fully understand what it is. Secondly, we will be covering one specific leadership competency of EI, and that's self-awareness. This is something that we will be doing with other more classes, but today is an introductory class where we'll just focus on self-awareness. And I will introduce you to one of the principles called Kaizen that help people to continuously improve themselves in their lives, to become better versions of themselves. So those are three specific objectives that I'm going to cover today. So let's get into it. What is emotional intelligence? Let me breathe. Emotional intelligence is all about making intelligent responses to emotions and using specific skills to generate positive emotions in yourself and in others. A lot of words there, but I highlighted two things, intelligent and positive. Let me break this down for you. When I use the word intelligent, I mean that you're in the capacity to be able to perceive, understand, and manage all the kind of emotions that you experience on a day-to-day basis. Having that ability to be able to perceive, understand, and manage your emotions will allow you to be able to, create positive emotions in yourself. So one of the things I've noticed every single morning I meet someone, or I'm texting someone, or I'm just talking to anyone, I always ask, how are you doing? And the answer is always binary. It's either 1 or 0, good or bad. But I always want to challenge them. What positive emotions are you having now? What negative emotions are you having now? Do you have a robust vocabulary of all kinds of emotions? So positive emotions like, I'm feeling exhilarated today. I'm feeling enthusiastic today. I'm feeling satisfied because this and this happened to me today. Having that sense of awareness will actually, help you towards becoming someone who's more emotionally intelligent. So, in many of my trainings, at the end of it all, there's always this big question: what is the difference between IQ and EQ? Well, simply, the answer is that they measure different forms of intelligence. IQ, which means the intelligent quotient, is all about your technical expertise. It's all about your technical acumen. It's all about all the competencies that you've been able to build over time, probably through education, all those things. But EQ is all about how you're able to perceive, understand, and manage your emotions. They're totally different. So today, in this day and age, I believe that so many people are so hungry about success, and we really focus on building our, technical competencies. But you will find that many people who probably are making $1 million, in a year, something really big, large amount of money, they tend to be unhappy in their lives. They tend to not be extremely happy. And what is really happening? I feel that many people have not really put so much emphasis to what emotional intelligence is. If you agree with me, you can just put a reaction on the screen just to let me know that you're following. So I'm on a mission to build a community where people are able to build the emotional intelligence and become better versions of themselves intelligently. And I want to share with you some of the traits that I had in the past when I was in the stage of trying to build my emotional intelligence, and I tried to really understand what are some of the things that I've been doing proactively in the past that have made me not become a really happy person in my life. I'm not really having any positive emotions in myself. And one is that I would get extremely irritated and frustrated when people would ask me, why can't you understand how I'm feeling? And I was like, how do you expect me to understand how you're feeling? And, I didn't know that being more emotionally intelligent as a person will allow you to be able to see the verbal skills in someone, see the nonverbal cues in someone, and be able to tell this person is either extremely excited or just happy or is neutral or extremely upset or is triggered. I wasn't able to see that. Another thing is that I'm someone who has a personality where I'm introverted, and meeting people for the first time it's always a difficult thing for me. I get extremely shy. Sometimes I ask questions that not everyone could easily answer, and it will be extremely difficult, and finally one of the things that really I had to battle with is I would become extremely defensive when someone really didn't know where I'm coming from and how much work I've put towards something. It was very difficult. So these are just some of the traits that people have, I be included, that you that people need to work on in order to become more emotionally intelligent people. So let's just continue. What Emotional intelligence is a whole foundational skill. It's a skill that has 6 lead. I'm going to share with you all the leadership competencies. There are 6: self-awareness, emotional awareness of others, authenticity, emotional reasoning, self-management, and positive influence. So allow me to briefly just describe each one of them. We're going to focus today on self-awareness. Let me talk about emotional awareness of others. It's all about empathy. You being able to put yourself in someone's shoes and actually feel what they're feeling. Or you being able to understand someone's verbal and nonverbal cues and pick out on those cues and channelize strengths in that other person. That's what we talk about when we talk about emotional awareness of others. Authenticity is all about being genuine about how you're feeling. You will notice that you will meet certain kinds of people. I being a victim sometimes, and someone's just wanting to know how you're doing, but you won't be very genuine as to what you're going through, or you say, "I'm not feeling happy." I'm not. You just brand it with the binary answers, good or bad. You know, and emotional reasoning is just basically the whole decision making process. Are you able to make clearly thought out decisions without having your emotions, um, coming in? Like, for example, you'll find that people get extremely excited and make very big mistakes in their decisions. Or you'll find someone who gets extremely upset and probably says things that he wouldn't say when when he was not triggered. That's what we cover under self-emotional reasoning. Self-management is just basically how you're able to manage your emotions. After creating a mindset of becoming more conscious about how you're feeling, there's certain strategies that we will share that would help you to be able to manage certain stresses and emotions and everything. And finally, positive influence will be all about you being able to motivate yourself, inspire yourself, and also inspire others, be it at home, be it at work, anywhere. So let's focus today on self-awareness. Self-awareness is all about being aware of the way you feel and the impact your feelings have on, one, your decisions, two, your behavior, and three, your performance. It's very important that you have that capacity to be able to be very aware of what is happening to you during that session and how much impact it's going to create in your decisions, your behavior, and your performance. So people who are emotional self-aware are conscious of the role their feelings can play in so many areas and are equipped to be able to manage the influence of their feelings. So a little of a personal story about me. I've gone through a boarding system in school, when I was in high school. It was a boarding system, and I was very good with math. I was really good with math, and I used to be picked out to go and um, uh, compete with other students from other schools to in math contests. And it was well known that there are a couple of boys who would go, so I was one of them. So on that morning, it was a morning where we were supposed to leave school and go to another school and do the tests and see who will be the best out of it. So I woke up in the morning pretty happy and everything. And when we got to the bus, when we were supposed now to go to the other school, half of the people who were supposed to join us in my team were told that they will not be able to go. So I, being the group leader, it really broke me because I had promised people that they would be able to go for this sort of event, but they were being told to go back. And typical of the way a high school is that when someone gets sent back because they've missed probably an event, the others will be very quick to laugh at them. So I was not happy about it. Though I also went for the event, it was really upsetting. So when I got to the event, I meet new people. We were a team of about 10 people. We're only 5, and we see schools coming with big trophies and everything, and they have a team of about 30. You know, so I started panicking. I really forgot that I was really good in math, and I had so much doubt in myself. And me not being able to be very aware of all the kind of anxiety that was coming in my head, I went and sat and did the test, and I did it to my level best. Really, really did my best. But I was scared. I was shaking. I was, I it was it was not something that I really anticipated for. So we go, and when we were told now our results are out, I, as the team leader, scored 0. I got nothing in the test. And what was the problem? The problem was that I was extremely anxious, I had so much anxiety that where I was supposed to shade the answer for a number 1, I shaded in number 2, and I totally messed up the whole answer sheet. So you can easily see that going through the whole morning, being extremely upset, coming to an institution where you're supposed to compete, I was totally anxious and everything. It really made me make bad decisions. It made me make bad decisions in the way I filled my answer sheet. And my behavior towards the test, I approached it with so much fear. And you see, my productivity, my performance wasn't good. So it really broke me, because when I got back to school again, the boys who were waiting to laugh at you really laughed at me. And it took me a whole week to be able to walk away from all that distress. So this is what we talk about in self-awareness. A little more about something called energy. I believe that we have been able to walk into a room, be it anywhere, let's say in an office, let's say in a school, or just anywhere. And you would easily walk into a room extremely excited, but after some time you feel upset. You feel not comfortable. You feel that the room is just negative. So what has really happened there? Or you're not excited, but when you walk into probably like a place where there's music, you start tapping your legs and you start dancing, and you feel like much more excited. It's all about energy. So our bodies have cells, and our cells are always moving. They're in a constant random motion, and we would find that energy can only be created and transmitted. It can't be destroyed. So I'll share with you another personal story. When a friend of mine, he went for an interview, looking very sharp, looking amazing. And he got to the receptionist and he said good morning, with a very beautiful smile, and he was happy, and he was like, I'm excited for this interview. And the receptionist looked at him and said, "Interview, sit there." And he went and sat down. I was like, come on, she couldn't even say good morning. Even she could just she'd remove the good and just say morning. She couldn't just greet me. And he saw one person after the other who was coming for the interview, showing up with so much style and happiness and vigor. But after some time, they just sat down and they were just upset. How can this person treat me like this? So after some time, you notice that everyone in the whole interview room was not talking to each other. Guys were just looking down. Guys were on their phones, and basically nobody was extremely excited. So you see that really affected their performance when they got into the interview. And you would even find that also the judges were not extremely excited. So it was a terrible interview. And it's because of the energy that probably the receptionist brought into the office. She probably had a very bad morning getting to the office. And, she passed that energy to other people who were extremely excited. And all of a sudden, everyone's day is not going well. So that's what we cover under energy. Are you aware of what energy you're bringing into a room? That's very important. So we have two videos here that I'd like us to watch. And I hope they'll be able to show. If they won't show, we will send it to all of you guys so you can actually watch it. Let me see if this is going to work. Sorry about that. Has it been able, Nat, can you please step in a bit?
Okay, so fantastic, Yuri. And while you try to get that working, we had a question from Samuel. How do you keep energy up in such a situation? And I would say answer that, but also with this video, maybe explain what is happening. And by all means, we'll send these videos and the links and the presentation and the recording out to all of you after.
Yeah. So let me just settle this up, but I can answer that question while I'm trying to get the slides back again. I just saw someone said that they're energy vampires. But yeah, one of the things that I have actually learned, you can actually find small things that keep you motivated and happy. Probably just listening to your favorite song, on your earphones. That's something small. Or just going to the bathroom and washing your hands, and just telling yourself, I'm gonna get through this. This is just a bad day. I'm able to handle it. Or sometimes you can just be grateful. Be grateful about life. Be grateful that you'll be able to wake up that morning and you will be able to show up. And people go through all of this, but just be aware that it might affect someone else. Those are just a few strategies that I tell people. Or even probably just work on your mindfulness. Just meditate. You shouldn't meditate like an hour or 2 hours. If it's possible, you can do it, but you can just take a few breaths, breathe in, breathe out, relax. That can take probably 5 minutes, and you're good to go. So those are just a few things that you can actually do. That's what's on my mind. Yeah.
Nice.
And so we'll just skip the videos and we will just continue.
Okay, fantastic. And I saw a question from someone saying, how can we change the way you feel about something? And I thought that's a really interesting question. And from my own perspective, it's that I can't change how other people think or how other people act. I can try and influence it. But the one thing I have control over is how I choose to process that information. And at times it can be difficult to think you have that control, but through practicing like mindfulness, meditation, and as Yuri's been mentioning, that self-awareness, you can change how you do it. So if someone's angry at me, rather than feeling personally attacked, I feel more empathy towards them and think, what's going on in their life which allows them to act, which means they act out in that way. So the situation is the same, but how you interpret it is far different.
Yeah, it's totally different. And this is something that we speak about in empathy. I'm someone who tells so much stories, so I have so many stories to tell about this one. And this is a story that my mentor was telling me. In Nairobi, we have so many cars and we're fond of having so many traffic jams. So you would find that we have public means of transport that are always on rush hour. So they'll always want to overtake, try and get ahead of you so they can go and pick the next people. And he was on his vehicle and he noticed that one of those public means of transport came and tried to overtake him. And he was hitting the horn and saying, "Why are you doing this? You can't wait like everyone else," all kinds of things. And it really spoiled his day. But come to think of it, after some time, he told me that, if I actually sat down and, I would say, I'm triggered. I'm very upset about this, but this is not going to influence my day. Probably this person woke up after having probably 2 hours of sleep because he has been trying to make an income. Probably this person has a family of 7 that he has to feed, and him driving this bus every single day, he really has to provide for his family. So he really has to get as many people on that bus. And the traffic jam is slowing him down. Or probably this guy had an argument with a loved one last night that has really made him lose control. You don't have influence over what this person is going through, but having that ability to empathize with them and just ask these small kind of questions, you will be able to come from have a perspective of, okay, you know what, he's going to still overtake the next and the next and the next person, but do I have really time and energy to really fight with this person? Because I don't think I can really change this. What I can change now is my my thoughts towards this person, and just let the person pass. At the end of the day, I will still get to the office, you know. So that's towards your question, Nat. These are just a few things that you can actually do, and this is something that we talk about when we under class on empathy. I believe that we will do this in the future. Yeah. Okay, so Nat has not yet responded. Okay, so I'll just continue with my presentation.
Oh, sorry, mate. My thing cut out.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my response to that question.
Thanks, mate. That's great. And I
Yeah.
see a lot of questions coming in, responses, which are fantastic. And just to remind you all, we will be answering questions at the end. So feel free
Yeah.
to keep posting them and communicating that.
Yeah. Definitely. So yeah. What is Kaizen? Kaizen it's a principle that has originated from Japan. And it has been used by many Japanese corporations to just basically help them achieve their goals and maintain success in their businesses. So it's a very simple, graceful technique that just emphasizes on just making small steps every single day so you can actually better what you're focusing on. And I have actually found ways in which I can rhyme Kaizen and emotional intelligence as a way that you can continuously improve this skill. So let me just clarify something. After this webinar, you cannot call yourself emotionally intelligent. It doesn't. You can't. You can't have that extremely radical change. No. I myself, I'm still also in the journey of building my EQ. So after some time, you just make those small proactive steps. We can't say that you have the highest EQ completely, like you've reached the optimum level. No, it's just something that you build over time, just slowly by slowly. So I use this principle called Kaizen to actually help all the participants in my community be able to build the skill. So I've just mentioned something called the drastic radical change. And I have noticed that many people, when they want to change a habit in their lives, when they want to change something that has been happening to them, or they want to do something better in their lives, they really want to do it abruptly, like make a 180-degree turn and shoot forward. But you'd find that most of the time when they have, when someone dedicates time to do this, there will be things like, getting extremely fearful. Don't get extremely. It won't really work out. It won't really work out because our brains have not been designed to be able to take drastic change like this. It can't happen. So sometimes people can actually make it, but it's very difficult. And I feel that if you resonate with this, you can just give me a thumbs up if you ever try to do something and after like 2 days or 3 days, or like, I'm gonna give up on this, I'm not gonna do it anymore, because I don't think I can do it. And a key example I just mentioned previously is that when I was a child, I was extremely shy. I was extremely shy to meet people. I was extremely shy to make friends. And part of it was, I was a child who was obese when I was young, and many of my friends would make fun of me as the fat kid in the class. So it was very difficult for me to make friends with people, and it was a bit tough. And I slowly became someone who's very self-centered, and I only want to be in my own space. So when I met my best friend, who's my best friend today, he was extremely extroverted, outgoing, and it's something I really admired in him. I really wanted to be vocal, be able to speak to people, be able to make new friends. And, I couldn't just wake up one morning and say that I'm gonna meet like 5 strangers today and just make sure that they become my closest friends. It's not gonna work. But I can be able to make small proactive days every single day to deal with my shyness, to deal with my confidence, and one way or another, I'll be able to, in the future, be able to meet people and, open my heart to them. And that's why I am a really big believer in the principle of Kaizen, because it has really helped. It has really helped in the sense that it has helped me to really gradually work towards continuous improvement in my life. So I want to introduce you to something called the amygdala. It's in our brains. And the main function of the amygdala is to initiate a flight or a fight response. And you'd find that most of the time, probably when you get extremely scared, that's when you want to run, you want to take off, and all kinds of things. And it actually programs our brains to really resist change. And once that alert kicks in, you totally lose track on how to make rational thinking, or basically it shuts down and you just want to take off. So that's the work of the amygdala, and I'm going to share with you ways in which you can introduce Kaizen to, quote and unquote, cheat the amygdala not to go on. So this is the first step, and we talked about self-awareness. So I'm gonna tie this with self-awareness. What are some of the things that you can do every single day to be able to build your self-awareness? So small questions. Our lives, we shape our lives by the questions that we ask ourselves, or we refuse to ask ourselves, or we never even think to ask. One of my closest friends always says that if you're not asking yourself the right questions, you'll never find the right solutions. And I would like to give you guys a small task that like from tomorrow or next week or just in the future, if you have a friend who you normally meet up on a car park or anywhere, just ask them, what's the color of the car next to you? It's a very silly question. guys will be like, what the heck are you asking, you know? But ask it not once, ask it the next day, thrice, 4 times, 5 times. And you'll find that this person at the end of the day will show up and be like, yeah, the car next to me is blue. Don't ask me those silly questions, you know? So this is where I'm going with this, that we have something called a hippocampus in our brain that actually stores the many questions that we ask ourselves. And you being able to repeatedly ask yourself those questions, it makes it the first priority in your brain to actually find answers to that question. And slowly by slowly, your brain will be able to be creative in ways you can be able to find solutions to those problems. So I mentioned something called the amygdala. The amygdala is, again, something that initiates the fight or flight response. And if you ask yourself very tough questions, fear comes immediately. And immediately you have fear, you really suppress your creativity and your playfulness or anything. You you just basically freeze. So I really want to help you guys to be able to ask yourself small questions every single day in line with building your self-awareness and emotional intelligence. So I just want to ask you one question. After this, please go and write down out a few questions that you would ask yourself from today repetitively. And I would ask you guys, if your mental health was your first priority today, what would you do differently? What would you do differently? What are the small steps that you would take to be able to have a happier life? You know, once you ask yourself those questions in a very small tone, you're not being aggressive towards yourself, but it will take time for you to be able to be introspective and reflect on what are some of the ways in which I can make myself have my mental health in check. How can I become more happy in my life? You know, or ask yourself, if today I, for me, my first priority in my life is to ensure that I'm conscious about the way my feelings have an impact on the way I live my life. What are some of the small things that I can include so I can be able to be more aware about this? So after being able to ask yourself those small questions, we'll move forward to having small thoughts. So once you have those small questions, you've really triggered your creativity. You will have a dream to be able to pursue something. And for me, having those small thoughts is actually helping you to become a vibrational match towards those small thoughts that you're having. It once you that when you'll be able to trigger your creativity. So these are some of the small thoughts that I want each and every one of us in the future to think about. Have a small thought every single day of you responding calmly to a situation where you're emotionally triggered. You're put in a situation where you're extremely upset. How do you picture yourself responding calmly to that person who's making you explode with rage? Or picture yourself having being able to be comfortable with strangers. Picture yourself doing that. Or picture yourself being fluent in public speaking. Those are just a few things. And I'm going to take you through a whole process of ways in which you can you can be able to have different kinds of small thoughts. So I wrote down something and I would like to read it out to you like we're having a small conversation. So you need to isolate a task either that you are afraid of to do and makes you uncomfortable. Try to give yourself at least a month before you're actually able to perform this activity. Then decide how many seconds you're willing to devote your mind towards this task every single day. Make sure you create time probably in seconds, in minutes, or in hours. A time commitment that is very low that will be able to allow you to fulfill the requirements of what you want. So the key thing here is you being able to be repetitive, you being able to harness this kind of thoughts in a very repetitive manner. So it keeps you thinking about it. And the third thing you would do is when you're ready to practice this act of mindfulness, act of having these small thoughts, sit down in a place where it's quiet, comfortable, and just close your eyes. And from there, imagine that you're in a difficult or uncomfortable situation and you're looking through your own eyes around you. What do you see? What is the setting of the place? Who is there? What do they look like? See the expressions on their faces, the clothes they're wearing, the posture. Now expand your imagination to the rest of your senses. What are the sounds, the smells, the flavors, and the textures around you? And without moving any actual muscle, imagine that you're performing that task. What are the words you're using? How does your voice sound? How are you moving your body and everything? What are some of the physical gestures that you're seeing in your mind? And I would use this example of public speaking. So imagine yourself having a positive response towards an activity. Be mindful about public speaking. Be mindful about your audience leaning forward, you know, they're writing notes, people in their seats, everyone is looking at you. People are really enthusiastic about what you're saying. And then when you've allocated that time, make that habit extremely fun. So you can actually see that people are responding in a happy manner, you know, instead of really being, you seeing that you're falling apart or anything. And I'll use this example. Not when we were at Watson in Colorado, guys. I had so many ventures. I was known as a person with so many ventures, and I came up with an idea one week where I was able to build a business in 1 week, and we were told that we're going to have investors come in during that week, and you're going to pitch your idea to them. So I was like, how am I going to pitch an idea to these investors of a business I've been able to build in 1 week? I don't think that really matches up. And I wasn't really comfortable about it, but I had to do it. So the investors came in and everything, and there I was in my, in a gray shirt and everything, and I was trying to look presentable and, do a very simple presentation, but just get my point across the room. And I wasn't really thoughtful about the success of that kind of pitch. I was very thoughtful about how it's going to end up being a disaster. And I woke up I walked into the room. I tried doing my pitch, and I was sweating like there's no day to like I was sweating completely. My back was full of sweat, and it's a gray shirt, so you can clearly see the map of Africa at the back of my back. And it wasn't an easy situation, but at the end of the day, I did it. So me sharing with you this ability to have these small thoughts. Think about small thoughts that will lead you towards success. Probably if I had sat down and I was a bit more mindful and accept that, I have an idea, I've worked on it for only a few days, but at the end of the day, I still need to do this. I would have probably not gone through a lot of pressure, sweating and everything. And that's where it leads me to have small actions, just small actions in your life that after having those small questions, you've been able to creatively come up with solutions. You've thought through them, you've seen yourself, you've visualized everything. You just make those small actions every single day to be able to continually improve your life. And with that, I'm almost ending my presentation. We've talked about emotional intelligence, we've talked about self-awareness, and this is something that is very powerful in our lives. And having this power will allow you to make better decisions in your life, will allow you to have a better attitude towards people, towards circumstances, towards all kinds of situations that you've been put through, and it will allow you to have an amazing performance, a stellar performance in any place that you go to. So there are some benefits of you building your emotional intelligence. One is that you're going to have boosted leadership skills. As I just said, you're going to have stellar productivity wherever you are, regardless of the environment, and so many other things that will come that probably you'll even become more happy in your lives. And finally, this is one of my best quotes by Maya Angelou. And she says that I have learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So be very conscious about what kind of feelings you bring to a room, or a place, or a community, because people will always remember that. So this is time for questions. Nat, we can open up the chat box and then have people ask their questions. Thank you.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Yuri. That was really eye-opening, and that's actually one of my favorite quotes as well. I always try to remember that, from a week's time, people may not remember exactly everything you said, but they will remember the feeling you gave them. And I also really liked that you mentioned that emotional intelligence isn't something you can just do a course on and get. It's a journey. So fascinating. Now, guys, we have a few minutes left. So if you have any questions, put them in the description or in the chat box, and I'll tell you next steps. And while you guys are doing a few questions, just so you know what is happening, after this lovely webinar, we will be sending you not only the slides, but also links to further workshops and also how to contact Yuri if he's doing that. And in the coming days, because it takes a while to edit, I'll send you the video as well, so you can watch it again. But now for some questions. So, how we got here? Oh, lots of questions. So I'm going to read a few of them out, and we'll see if we can kind of join a few of them up. Okay, how mindset of individuals relate to EQ? Can you recommend any books or lectures around EQ? Can you mention any resources? So another follow-on reading. Slides, one of my all-time favorite quotes, advice. So yeah, Yuri, to start off with, resources or books you'd really recommend as a good starting point?
Yeah. So one of the things that I've actually done for myself is I'm an avid reader, so I read a lot of books. So you can just start slowly by reading just a couple of books. The best book that I would say that you would start with is Emotional Intelligence by the father of EI. He's called Daniel Goleman. It's a book that was published in the 90s. It's a really good book that you would want to look at. And also a few things that I would advise you to do, so you can also include audiovisual, is just watch a couple of TED Talks about EI. I think there are quite a few on YouTube that will be really good. And yeah, that's what I would advise that you can start with, and frequently join webinars with people who are certified practitioners for emotional intelligence, so they can easily walk you through the whole process. Yeah, that's what I would advise. Yeah.
And Yuri, we've got a really interesting question here from, and apologies if I pretty bad pronunciation, Odongo Marvin, and they said, where do you think the place of emotional intelligence is in the current space of social media and cyberbullying? People don't care much for how you feel and how you appear online. So
Yeah.
in short, how does emotional intelligence work online?
Yeah, so one of the things I've noticed with many people is that people get trolled on social media quite a lot about how they look, about their captions or their stories and whatever they post. But one of the things that I've always used for this kind of approach is that I always tell myself that these people who are constantly bullying me online, they really have a low self-worth. If they're able to stand on themselves and really, appreciate who they are, it'll be extremely difficult. And you being able not to pay attention to this, all this kind of things will help you to, accept that, there are these people out there, and possibly try and make a change around the people around you. Just be that person who would wake up every single day and ask yourself, how am I going to make other people happy? How am I going to serve society? And build a community where people are not really shooting each other down, not with guns, but shooting each other down online. But yeah, that's my advice to that. It's a bit difficult. It's a bit difficult, and I believe that although some of the things you can do, and this is something that I practice quite a lot, is having that one phone call with someone who really appreciates who you are, who really values you, and makes you feel comfortable with the person that you are. It's very important.
Cool.
And having those yeah.
Oh, sorry. Just because for time, there's two questions which I think everyone would really benefit from.
Yeah.
Was how do you teach emotional intelligence or get it across to someone else, isn't yourself, who just isn't really, I don't know, doesn't seem very self-aware? Can you impose that on someone else? And the other question was, how does this all apply if you've got some mental health issues, maybe depression or anxiety?
Yeah. One of the things that I would always advise when it gets extremely severe, I think you need to see someone who is like a psychologist or a counselor who can easily walk you through this. Because I believe that you can't really do, if you're going through depression, you can't easily do it on your own. You need someone who's qualified to walk you through that journey and becoming someone, becoming much more happier and taking depression away. That's very important. But yeah, that's what I would say. Yeah, that's what I would say about that. Yeah.
Thank you. And Yuri, how can people stay in touch with you?
Amazing. This is the next slide. I forgot about it. So these are all my contacts. This is my email. You can get me on LinkedIn. You can follow the Instagram account that I started for emotional intelligence. It's called Build Your EQ. And you can text me on WhatsApp using my American number, which is yeah, there it is. And yeah, I would like to say asante sana. That is how we say thank you in Kenya. It's a Swahili version of saying thank you. So at least you guys can learn something new in Swahili. Just say asante sana.
Oh,
Yeah.
brilliant. Well, Yuri, this has been absolutely eye-opening. I've learned a great deal myself, and judging by the comments and the participants, everyone else did as well. So to send you a big thank you, everyone, if possible, just for the end, can I get you to go on camera if you're able to? And I'm going to unmute everyone. And if you could just give Yuri a round of applause. So let's give this a go. It will be chaos. And all right, thank you, Yuri. I'll give you a round of applause. And that's amazing. So yeah, right. Well, thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Yuri.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yuri.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Yuri. Thank you.
Yuri. It was short. It was so short.
Yeah.
Thank you, Yuri. Stay safe, everyone.
Thank
From
you.
the Philippines. Thank
Oh,
you.
looks nice
Maraming
there.
salamat.
You need more next time.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, fantastic. So great seeing all of you.
Okay.
Right, guys, well, I'm going to end chat there. But as always, stay in touch with us. Plenty of more great things coming your way, and I will be sending slides and videos shortly.